Today I would like to inform you of the life of Reverend Jim Jones, some of his ideologies, and how his ambitions for control and power led to the downfall of him and the People's Temple. So Jim Jones was born on May 13th, 1931 in rural Crete, Indiana. Although he was born in Crete, Indiana, he was raised in Lynn, Indiana. Now, according to an original tape provided by Real Stories, Jim describes himself as being undoubtedly one of the poorer in his community and being born as it was on the wrong side of the tracks. The few friends that Jim did have growing up would describe him as being weird. This was because of some of the crying fits he would have, the swearing he would often partake in, and because of his strange sexual talks. Now, overall, it can be said that Jim Jones was essentially an outcast in growing up. In his adolescence, Jim Jones says that he was made for the stage, and this is also proved by many who knew him. Even according to a girlfriend he had in high school, which said he had great control and inflection when speaking and was very well self-assured. So, in the 1950s, Jim Jones became a self-ordained minister, and in 1955 established the People's Temple of the Disciples of Christ in Indianapolis. The main message that Jim preached was social justice. Now, this was very common for Jim because he had a history of supporting and standing behind this cause. In an occasion, it is said that Jim was assigned to a black ward in a Methodist hospital in 1961, and when he was asked to move to a white sector, he refused. This caused that the hospital be integrated from then on, and this is provided by an article by the name of Countdown to Armageddon. Another thing that was prevalent in the People's Temple Church was the miracles and wonders that apparently were occurring. So Jim Jones would actually fake miracles to be able to convince and to be able to gain the confidence and faith of his followers. Something else that I couldn't leave out was Jim Jones's classic glasses, which really gave him an aura as a powerful evangelical preacher. Although the beginnings of the People's Temple seemed great to the media at the beginning, this quickly changed. On August 15, 1977, an article published by Marshall Kilduff and Phil Tracy published the public beatings, the sexual misconduct, taking of custodies of children, signing of blank pieces of papers, and the revolutionary act that was preached within the temple that was really going on inside. So the signings of black papers was where Jim would have his members sign a sheet of paper, and above it would type things such as them being pedophiles and rapists and even more things that would blackmail them to stay within the organization. The Revolutionary Act was a message in which he would preach mass suicide and test the loyalty of his followers to see if they would be willing to die for the cause of social justice, which he preached. So, all of this caused the movement to Guyana, where Jim Jones was, according to him, going to be able to flourish and create the socialist utopia that he really wanted. 2 months after the publication of the New West article, more than 1,000 people had moved to Guyana. So, just a little bit of background of what was the life in Guyana. Something that really characterized their life was white nights. Now, white nights were all-night sieges in where the entire community of Jonestown would come together in the main pavilion, and Jones would pretty much go on about conspirators in the government and in the media and family members and relatives who wanted to destroy the community of Jonestown within. All of these things caused him to also restrict phone calls and communication to family members who were outside of Jonestown. Now, what was going on in America is also an important part to consider. So concerned family members began to lobby American authorities and asked for an intense investigation of Jonestown and the People's Temple. Eventually, their cries were heard, and on November 14th, 1978, Congressman Leo Ryan took a trip to Jonestown and arrived to see what was really going on. So, the trip that Leo Ryan took did not play well for the people of Jonestown and also for what was eventually became a huge massacre. Jim Jones saw the trip of Congressman Leo Ryan as a threat, and on November 18th, 1978, they committed one of the largest mass suicides in recorded history. This consisted of over 900 people who died by poisoning of a mixture of potassium cyanide, sedatives, and tranquilizers, and along these were 300 children. Fortunately, there have been some survivors who have still survived and been able to tell the story and how life truly was in Jonestown. So my goal has been to provide you with a background of who was Jim Jones, to depict why he was such a charismatic preacher and figure, and to understand his downfall along with his followers, and just to show that the Jonestown Massacre is an important part of our U.S. history and to be able to give homage to those who have passed away. Thank you.